Hi, welcome to our podcast, Books Don't Review Themselves. I'm Kim.
And I'm Jessica.
And today we are going to talk about The Lady and the Highwayman by Sarah M. Eden. I'll read you the synopsis so you know where we're going when we start talking. So it's a longer one, so sit back and enjoy my reading to you. Elizabeth Black is the headmistress of a girls' school in 1865 Victorian London. She is also a well-respected author of Silver Fork novels, stories written both for and about the upper-class ladies of Victorian society. But by night, she writes very different kinds of stories, the penny dreadfuls, that are all the rage among the working-class men. Under the pseudonym Charles King, Elizabeth has written about dashing heroes fighting supernatural threats, intelligent detectives solving grisly murders, and dangerous outlaws romancing helpless women. They contain all the adventure and mystery that her real life lacks. Fletcher Walker began life as a street urchin, but is now the most successful author in the penny dreadful market. That is, until Charles King started taking all of his readers. No one knows who King is, including Fletcher's fellow members of the Penny Dreadful Society, a fraternity of authors dedicated to secretly fighting for the social and political causes of their working-class readers. The group knows King would be an asset with his obvious money and success, or he could be the group's undoing as King's readership continues to cut into their profits. Determined to find the elusive Mr. King, Fletcher approaches Miss Black. As a fellow author, she is well known among the high-class writers. Perhaps she could be persuaded to make some inquiries as to Mr. King's whereabouts. Elizabeth agrees to help Fletcher, if only to ensure her secret identity is never discovered. What neither author anticipated was the instant attraction, even though their social positions dictate the impossibility of a relationship. For the first time, Elizabeth experiences the thrill of a cat-and-mouse adventure reminiscent of one of her own novels, as she tries to throw Fletcher off her scent. But the more time they spend together, the more she loses her heart. Aww. It's upper class against working class, author against author, where readers, reputations, and romance are all on the line. Yeah, that was long. I think that tells you the whole story right there. All right.
Yeah, yeah, it really does.
It did, yeah.
Definitely not my kind of book.
Mm-hmm.
Not something I typically would purchase or
even read.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So this was my pick because we do thrillers all the time.
Right, and we wanted something different.
Yeah.
And
we're like a romance, a Victorian romance. That's even more romancy than romance.
Right.
But I think we should just stick with thrillers from now on. That might just be what we're doing, which is fine.
And I think the thing that is different for me is I don't read a lot of Victorian style stuff.
Yeah,
I think
even just novels. Victorian novels.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that definitely is different for me.
Mm-hmm.
In the way that it was written, it wasn't that it was written bad, but having like several stories going on at once.
Mm-hmm.
I think was a little much for my taste. I think I would have liked having the smaller like penny dreadfuls or whatever as like maybe something separate in the back or
like one to read after the story is finished. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
See, for me, that was like the redeeming quality of the book was having those penny dreadfuls intermingled with the main story because oh my goodness.
Otherwise it would have been like...
Yeah. If you've listened to any of our other podcasts, I am sure I have talked about authors who just put filler in their book. And this was...
You have, yes.
I have. And yeah, how many... This was 384 pages. This was almost a 400-page book. It could have been a 200-page book if she wouldn't have kept repeating that Elizabeth could not be found out for writing Penny Dreadfuls, and that
essentially the theme of the book over and over.
Exactly. And yes. Fletcher came from a poor street urchin, and he, that's horrible, and they can't be together. I mean, it was over and over again, and it wasn't even just once a chapter. Sometimes I swear to goodness, it was the entire chapter, just repeated over and over in different ways, and I'm just like, Lord have mercy.
Yeah. The thing is, there are definitely a lot of books that we'll read that are a very basic theme. But it's like, what can they do to make something very basic something that you read and you go, wow, they took something basic and
it's been done before and done well.
Right. And I feel like this was kind of one of those scenarios where I don't know if it's because of the fact that it was like a Victorian novel that kind of turned me off a little bit, or if I just feel like it wasn't executed well, like what they were intending, with the romance and almost like a little bit of thriller. Because I mean, when I read when I read the synopsis and we had talked about picking this book, I thought, okay, yeah, like I'll give it a try. It sounds like it might be interesting, and
because there's like a mystery running throughout it,
right?
So
and so
like,
I thought, okay, yeah, maybe and I just didn't feel like that was executed.
No.
Well.
And there's so many different aspects of Victorian England, London, that she could have wrote about those as well. Right. She could have expounded upon the main storyline and done a great job. But to just keep repeating over and over again, it was, as an author, okay, that's what she wrote. Right. That is what it is. She also has editors and so on and so forth. Someone on the editing team should have been like, great start. Yeah. We need you to flesh it out a lot more, Right. So I can't say it was Sarah Eden's fault at all, because the story itself was good. Right. And like you said, the Penny Dreadfuls, at least I enjoyed those as well. Right. It needed to be looked at more deeply and said, you need to fix these.
And I agree with you where had it been maybe a smaller read.
Yeah, like a 200-page book.
Because it felt like it was just dragging on. I had a hard time getting through this book, honestly. Like I almost thought about just not finishing it. And
I was skimming.
And saying, hey, like I didn't finish this at this percentage, whatever. It just, I've read other books, not that are necessarily Victorian, but that are set in a past time frame that were done better. Just so much better. One that I can think of off the top of my head was The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. And that takes place like in, I believe, World War II. But the way that was written, it really kept my attention throughout the whole book. And I even listened to that one too. And this, I struggled. Yeah. I really did.
There's another one like All the Light We Cannot See. I think that's the title of it. That book was amazing.
Yep.
And it was a different time. It wasn't Victorian England, but I mean, it was amazing. And they didn't keep repeating stuff over and over again.
Yeah, and so that's where I have a hard time distinguishing exactly what I feel could have made this better. Because that's something that I always try to think about after I finish a book is like, if I didn't like it, what was it that I didn't like about it? Because we do like to write our reviews as well. And so I want to be able to, iterate what it is I'm thinking. And with this one, I struggled with like, really what could have
been better.
And I wonder, had it been a shorter book, which is funny because we had reviewed
The Girl on
the Porch, which was so short. And even in my written review, that was something I worked on yesterday, is I was saying what started off as probably a 2 or 3 for me after our discussion kind of turned into, I think I landed on a 4. And
that was a short book.
It was a short book, but it was done well where...
And too, with The Girl on the Porch, there's a short book, and you don't even get like a real conclusion to it.
No, you don't.
You find out who the killer is and stuff, but there's so many unanswered questions. Where with this, even if it would have been a short book, she would have had a conclusion. It would have been a solid conclusion.
Right.
For me too, with the Penny Dreadfuls, I was looking forward to that part because I love Penny Dreadfuls. And
see, and I didn't even know what they were until this book. Like, I had no idea what a Penny Dreadful was or a Silver Spoon story. That just shows like how little I know about.
But that's the fun part of reading, and you find new things. But the thing, if you enjoy Penny Dreadfuls, then you probably know about the Penny Dreadful TV series. I think it was 3 seasons long. It was excellent. It's really dark and disturbing, and it has like a lot of fictional characters in it. There's like the monster from Frankenstein, and oh gosh, there's like a werewolf, and so it's really good.
I feel like I would enjoy that.
You would.
I feel like I would enjoy that.
It's beautiful. The scenery and the costumes. It's just I could just like turn the volume off and just watch it because it's just beautiful. So I highly recommend that if you do enjoy Victorian era and don't mind, a little bit of scariness or blood or gore or whatever.
Right.
But this one, I gave it a 3 out of 5. I just, like I said, I thought her writing style was good, as not the repetition parts, and it flowed fine. It just needed to be edited a lot. I enjoyed the Penny Dreadfuls. They weren't as scary as Penny Dreadfuls can be. They were kind of...
I think that's the other thing I feel this book was lacking, is I was expecting...
a little bit grittier, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
And it was just fluff. It was just a nice little fluff.
And I make it a habit that I always, before we record, I like to see other people's reviews, see if they make any good points that I want to bring up. Mm-hmm. A lot of people that read it liked it, and they liked that it wasn't
that hardcore.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just our style. But the thing is,
we're just sick.
I read romance though, and I do enjoy. And the other thing that I have to say with romance that drives me nuts, but I have come to accept it. It is what it is. It's how they write that genre. It is repetitious in a different way because they will keep having the main characters be like, "Oh no, I love you, but I shouldn't be with you." They'll keep doing that over and over again, which drives me nuts. And sometimes I will skim. I'll be like, come on. And I'm not even looking for the sex scenes. I just want the story. I want the conversation between the people. I want the interaction between the people. I don't want the continual, does he love me? Does he not love me? Oh no, I love him.
Yeah, it gets monotonous.
So in this way, it had that repetition, but it wasn't the romantic repetition. It was those two areas. So I was expecting repetition in a romance book, but not that type. Ugh.
Yeah, and I think the whole romance was kind of lacking a little bit, in my opinion. To me, it felt like you either need more romance or you need more of the grit, like you were saying. Like it just felt like it was kind of halfway on both ends.
Yeah, and a lot of romance. I mean, I can see why a lot of people did like this who read romance because they are looking for like a softer romance. This is the type of romance that you find in cozies. There's it's not, you never have sex scenes, they might be kissing and then it just cuts to the next day, it's implied sex. So, I mean, there's tons of people out here that enjoy that type of romance. I just don't think the two of us
and that's,
enjoy that as much.
I guess the point that I just bring that up is to preface that by saying, you and I like certain type of thrill and certain type of gore and whatever, and this doesn't have that, but a lot of people really enjoyed this book, but they might not enjoy
horror books or thrillers
as much as as much as we do. And that was the thing, is a lot of people I noticed would, like, when they wrote their review, would mention the fact that, like, oh, there is some of this brought up, but nothing too much, like child labor and abuse and that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, it touches on it, but it's not anything
like you're gonna be, what's that?
Crying or
a trigger.
A trigger.
That's what I'm looking for. A trigger. I guess because I don't need triggers, I'm fine with whatever, but a lot of people do. Right. So the trigger warnings is a thing. Yeah.
So I just feel like overall, and that's what's challenging too when reviewing something, because everyone has a different tolerance level on stuff. And for us, like when I looked at this, I'm like, oh, this has a really good review, blah, blah, blah. Well, we'll like it. It'll be something different. And I guess maybe I should spend more time like reading the reviews and seeing like what other people are saying to see, okay, do they enjoy something maybe a little bit heavier like I do or
But not. Even with this one, I would have gave it 5. I would have gave it 5 because her detail, to Victorian London, was good. And I liked the idea of the story. If she wouldn't have had all the repetition, I would have gave her a 5, even though this is a light romance and a light mystery and not a thriller at all, because I do enjoy different genres, but it was just I can't get over that, and that's the reason why. But if you like light romances, you'll probably enjoy this one. If you don't mind repetition, you will be fine.
Yeah, and like I said, a lot of people seem to really enjoy this book. I agree in the sense that I feel like I would have liked it better with less repetition, maybe shorter. And overall, I just feel like the storyline is good. I just don't feel like it was
enough.
It just wasn't executed enough to where I'm like, oh yeah, I would be interested to read something like this again.
I would like to read
and kind of compare it.
If we read like a Penny Dreadful too, I think that would be fun, like a real Penny Dreadful,
right? Yeah.
Or if we did read another Victorian romance, I think for you though, since you don't read a lot of romances, you will see the repetition again. Like I said, I've just come to be like, whatever, that's how the romance genre is. I'll live with it. So maybe it would be interesting to see if you could like handle that or just be like, for the love of goodness.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and I think in my perspective too is that not having a history with any Penny Dreadfuls, I really have nothing to compare this to. Mm-hmm. So I think it would be interesting to read like a true Penny Dreadful and be like, oh, I really like this. Which might lower my score of this, but
yeah. And there are different levels of Penny Dreadfuls too. You know, there are lighter ones like she had wrote, and then there's darker, more disturbing ones.
Yeah. So overall, I would say I'd probably give it like a 3.
Yeah,
maybe a 2. I mean, and like I said, I don't have any complaints necessarily about the writing. Mm-hmm.
It's not like it wasn't
written well,
lots of spelling mistakes or anything like that.
Right. You know, nothing like that. It just. The story just, I think, was lacking for me. Yeah. So that's kind of where I stand with it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Well, at least we read it. And if you listen to the review, then you know you may want to read it. Or you may be like, no, I'm good. And I'll read something else.
Right.
Which is why we do this. So, yay.
So I think that's all we got for this book, unfortunately. But yeah, feel free to subscribe to our channel. Follow our pages. You know, we have Instagram, Facebook. You can find our podcast on several platforms. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you have found it on one.
Unless you're watching on YouTube, but...
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you guys have any suggestions, feel free to comment and let us know.
All right. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.